Hi, welcome to video for our class from March 15th, Goodwin College, Math 125. I am going to talk a little bit about what we learned that day and how we can access it for future use. I'd like to show everybody the syllabus and make sure that we all are clear that the syllabus is showing us that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks left. And during those 4 weeks of lecture, we will be covering the following different units. After the 4th week, our 5th and 6th week that are left will be our 2 exams on the units that we had already been working on up until that point. What we worked on the last time was we had a test, an exam, and I wanted to make sure we all saw the same kind of thing as an idea of what we had talked about from previous examples. So for us, sometimes we talk about going from the known to the unknown. This was some worksheets that we had previously started but didn't finish. And I wanted to make sure we went over this with everybody so that we could see how it all fits into our new material that we're going to be studying. So we're not going to be doing number 3, but right now we should all recognize that if I was trying to solve question number 2, which was again a question from a previous test, that we would want to have it work on the fact that the 512 meters is going to go over 1. And then if I look at my fact sheet, it says that 39.372 inches is equal to 1 meter. And then we would just do the top times the top, and we would do the bottom times the bottom, which turns out to be 1. And if I circled meters and meters, I would be left with inches, which is what I'm looking for. So I am reviewing this with you so that you can see what kind of math we were working on previous to today's class. Here's another good example, is question number 4. We would start this off by saying 19 cups over 1. And then if we looked at our fact sheet, we would have cups and pints. We'd have pints and quarts. We'd have quarts and liters. And based on that fact sheet, we should be able to put in that 1 pint was 2 cups, 1 quart was 2 pints, and 1 liter was 1.056 quarts. And then we would multiply the top times the top times the top, and we would get an answer on the bottom, something around 4.24 or something. I don't have my calculator with me. But then we would divide those two answers to come up with our final answer over there. Again, this is just reviewing what we did the last week before our test, getting us ready to put things in the same sort of an order. Here is another one over here. 1 hour is 60 minutes. 1 minute is 60 seconds. There are a certain number of liters in a gallon, and we would put that number here, and then we would multiply the top, 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 and we would get one answer, and the bottom, 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 we would get another. So just showing you and reminding you that this is how we set things up in previous classes so that we are ready to go for our new material. And for number 1, we would write out that 38,500 centigrams, which is here, is going to hectograms, which means we need to move our decimal place 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, giving me a final answer of 3.85. So for the start of our video today, this is what we talked about in class. And those of you who didn't see it will have a chance to look at it for the first time. And those of you who did have a chance to see it, this will be the second time you have a chance to notice what we're up to. The units that we are working on in this class were units 10 and 12. And so I put out for everyone's work that we had units 10 and 12 here. And this is a list of notes on what's happening on unit 10. You'll notice that it says the first 4 sections are basically telling you what is happening in each section. So I'm not going to go into that too deeply, but I will show it to you quickly that there's not a lot of math to be done in any of these first 4 sections, the 16 first questions you have. You're just reading labels, or you're looking at a syringe or an IV bag or something like that. So here is an example of Unit 10 homework. Question number 3, we're on here. It says read the drug label. It asks what's the generic name of the drug, and we can check to see what that answer is, and we got a good. And then we go down to the next question, which says what is the trade name of the drug, and it doesn't look like there's a trade name on this unless it's somewhere written in that very small fine print. Okay, so I'm going to put not shown. Okay, so this is the kind of question you're going to be asked to do in that section. Going to jump away to the next questions here. Question 5 talks about a cup where you're supposed to write the volume of the medication. Question 9, up to question 8 is similar questions about syringes and cups and some sort of liquid medication. Question 9 and down to 10 is something about an IV bag, how much fluid has been infused, etc. Remember, you have the options of viewing an example, getting more help me solve this. Question number 11 throughout talks about something that came up yesterday about a full dose, what was left over. Question 12 also talks about some other things like that. And the only question that gave us something to talk about was right here. And so this is a label that says it's 10,000 units per every ml, and it says here the dosage given will be in certain mLs, and the doctor's order is 5,500 units. So this is how we would set this up on our piece of paper. The doctor's order always comes first, so that would be 5,500 units over 1, which is very similar to what we did in those warm-up examples. We always put it over 1. We're going to multiply, and we see that units, if they were on the top of the first fraction, they need to be on the bottom of that fraction, and then we have mLs, and we're going to use what the label said, which was 10,000 units is 1 ml. Our final answer will be 5500 over 10,000, and if we circle units and units, the only thing left is mLs. So we just do top times top, bottom times bottom, and then we divide to get our answer. That is basically all of what we will be learning in Unit 10. Now I'm going to jump to Unit 12 and take a peek at how that one filled in. I also have some work on Unit 12 over here. On the back of our pieces of paper that we have here. Okay, so we are working with Unit 12 now, and the piece of paper that you have in your that has been copied for you and set up in the Canvas had some questions here. We have some conversions with the same units. Those are questions 1 through 3. We have some questions, conversions with different units. That would be questions 4 through 9. And we have a couple other pages that go along with this. So let's say that our doctor's order was 0.2 milligrams. And let's say that we had on hand, looking at questions 1 through 3. Here's a good example that we have 2.0 milligrams per ml. So I pull that right off the page, and now I'm writing it on here. And when I'm writing it on here, we go through the process again of the doctor's order always goes first, and we're multiplying that by this next fraction. In order to make this next fraction right, we need our 2 on the bottom and our 1 ml on the top, and that comes out to be 0.1 milliliter, because the milligrams cancel out, and I just do top times top and bottom times bottom, otherwise known as 0.2 divided by 2.0, and then that turns out to be that. So that's another set of work for you to look at. The questions in 4 through 9 start us off with a certain number of grams and milligrams and things like that. Here's an example that they use, 0.45 grams. We're going to use a different one. So we're going to go over here to ours, and let's say that our order is that, and that we have 900 milligrams per ml. So it should set up the same. The doctor's order goes over 1 first. The next thing has our 1 ml on the top. But here's the problem. We have milligrams where we're supposed to have grams. And we need to do something about that. So if we go back to our list that we used, mnemonic device to change things to milligrams to grams, B is grams, M is milligrams. I have to move it over 3 spaces, which means my new answer turns out to be 1750 milligrams versus 1.75 grams. Top times the top, bottom times the bottom. Milligrams are crossed off, and the only answer is going to be our ml. So if we practice with the doctor's order coming first, we should be okay. The next page that we had was talking a little bit about something to do with units, or the word one measure. Okay, here is questions 10 through 12. It says the doctor's order is 14 ml over 1, which is very consistent with what we had. This is going to be 1 measure over 35 ml. And as we have done in the past, top times the top, bottom times the bottom comes out to be 0.4 ml. Because we do the top divided by the bottom, not ml, measure, my bad. This is the one where, because the word's a little different, it's going to be a measure, sort of. Questions 13 through 16 go through the same process of reading labels. Question 17 talks about if you have, and this is the only time this question comes up, if you have 473 milliliters total and your full dose is 9 milliliters, you're just going to do some sort of division, and it came out to 52.5 doses. Okay, now we need to round that to the number of full doses. And even though we would typically round it up, because it's 52.5, we want to have it as 52 total because we want a full dose. We are one more page left in Unit 12. And Unit 12 asks something here as one of our last questions is question 18. Our doctor's order of 35 grams comes first. We put 10 grams for every 15 mLs here. And then watch what the question is asking for. It's asking for teaspoons. So looking at your fact sheet, 1 teaspoon is equal to 5 mLs. Okay? I also put some stars here for watch out for decimals, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. And if we multiply the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom, I think it came out to be 525 over 50, which turns out to be 5.5, otherwise known as 5.5 teaspoons. So if I show you what's going on in this question in my math lab, one of the things it asks for here, and this question is almost identical to the one I just said, is it asks for an integer, a proper fraction, or a mixed number. It doesn't want a decimal. So just be careful of what you answer these questions to be. Thank you. I hope you got something out of this video, and we will talk again soon during class.